Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
So last week, we started to talk about what is usually a double portion. Tazria and Metzora usually go together. It is about the affliction of leprosy and how that was managed in the time of the Bible and even further into the time of, to some degree, the rabbis as well. And we actually went on a tangent last week saying we were going to focus on the mitzvah of circumcision. And we talked about how the mitzvah of circumcision tied into all of that. And I said, this week we'll talk a little bit more about the sort of the fundamental understanding of Metzora. Metzora, this affliction, right, that we had, the rabbis say comes from what? Motzi Shem Ra. That they actually take the name Metzora and they say it is Motzi Shem Ra, which literally means you are causing someone to have a bad name, right? It's Lashon Hara. It's gossip, right? That is what the rabbis say is the origin of this affliction of Metzora, of leprosy. And the rabbis spend a lot of time, actually, talking about how bad, Motzi Shem Ra is, how bad Lashon Hara is. And as a matter of fact, some rabbis really devoted their entire career to that one topic, right? The Chafetz Chaim, most famously, devoted most of his rabbinic writing, his whole career, to fighting against Lashon Hara, the evil speech. So I want to talk a little bit today about that, and I want to take us into a different sort of solution than maybe what we are used to. So first of all, I'm sorry, we're still getting used to this new sound system. It seems very tinny. No? Sounds good? All right. Only to me. The good news is we have our new sound system in, so we're still getting used to it, though. So the first question is, how do we define Lashon Hara? Let's know what we're talking about. What does it mean when we say Lashon Hara, when we talk about this in the Jewish context? What does that mean? What does Lashon Hara mean? Marge? Gossip, right? So define gossip.
That's a good question. I always wondered about that.
Yeah.
Sometimes sharing information is useful to the person sharing it or to the person receiving it. It helps process things, but then sometimes it's just hurtful and cruel.
All right, so Marge is starting to lean into this idea that it's a little difficult to define it sometimes because there are clearly times when sharing information is vital, it's important. We want to be able to let people know what's going on, right? But there's also times that sharing information is hurtful. So let's dig into this. How do we define when something is Lashon Hara versus when something is just important information that we are sharing about somebody or about a situation?
Well, I think it's interesting. The actual meaning is lashon is a tongue or language. Hara is a bad tongue. So it sort of goes under nice words or no words. Like, what is the purpose? What is the tachlis? Why is somebody saying these things? Because to Marge's point, it affects the person saying it. It affects the person listening, and it also affects the one about whom it is being said, and it has this just tremendous ripple effect.
Excellent. So two things that you said I think they're very important, Diana. One is you quoted one of our Mishnayot that says that, Lashon Hara actually hurts three different people, right? The person who says it, because if everybody begins to hear that you're that type of person, they're not going to want to be around you. It clearly hurts the person about whom it is said, and it even hurts the person listening to it because they may start to think about that other person differently. And who knows, that could have been one of their best friends in the world, but now they're saying, well, I don't want to get near that. I don't want to talk to that person. I don't want to have anything to do with that person. So it can affect all three. And then you said something else, which I thought was interesting. It's, say good words, good speech, or don't say anything at all. Right? Good, nice words or no words. And you kind of lean to this idea of perhaps it's the intention, right? There's a kavanah piece to it, right? There's an intention. If it's my intention to make that other person look bad, well, that's lashon hara. Maybe even in today's day and age, in the corporate world and the dog-eat-dog world of corporate America, it's not only making them look bad, but maybe it's trying to make me look good by making them look bad, right? There's that whole aspect of it as well. Marge?
But then aren't you responsible for intention? You may not have intention, but you should have been more careful and known there was intention or known it was going to play out that way.
Right. So maybe it was accidental, right? So maybe it wasn't intentional, but we know that accidental words can hurt just as badly. So if we're just saying that it's intentional, then that's a problem, because are we not responsible for hurting somebody even accidentally? Okay? Anybody else? How do we define this? It's actually very complicated. And by the way, in today's day and age, it's so important, right? It's so important, especially with the anonymity that the internet provides us. The things that we say, the things that we post, the things that we talk about, that we would never say if somebody was standing right there. It creates a whole other layer of this. Michal.
Well, there's something to be said that maybe gossip is any kind of talking about others, whether it's critical, neutral, or even positive.
Yeah.
Talking about others.
So maybe gossip can be any kind of conversation, any kind of talking about other people, even if it's positive. And there are some rabbis that actually go so far as to say, even if you say something good, that could be considered lashon hara. The Chavetz Chaim said this, because let's say you say, oh my goodness, this person, not to put any pressure on any of our Torah readers today, but this person is the best Torah reader ever, right? Well, what kind of pressure does that put on them, right, to get up? And what if they make a mistake? And right, it's an unfair statement, even to say positive things sometimes. So we have to be very, very careful about what we say.
Two things come to mind. One is the Supreme Court definition of some other subject. I can't define it, but I know what it is when I hear it.
Right.
Right? And the other one is maybe it's unauthorized speech.
Unauthorized
Like
speech.
in baseball, telecast of this game
Without prior consent. I like that. So it's an interesting angle, right? To be able to say, right, who owns the information? And if the person who owns that information is okay and has authorized you to share that information, then maybe it's okay, whether it's positive or negative, right? Say it again? It's like HIPAA laws. Yes, there has to be that informed consent of saying, I authorize you guys to talk about this or to share this with somebody else. Marge?
On the other hand, the consequence of not sharing it can be great.
Yeah. There are certain things that we have to share, because the consequence of not sharing certain things can be hugely damaging, not just to one person or two people, but maybe to lots of different people, right? God forbid we know of people that are somebody that wants to hurt other people. Well, if we say, well, I don't want to speak negatively about this person, that could be a huge problem.
I think one has to do also with to your point again, is the responsibility of the person. And like if you are a mandated reporter, you have to tell the authorities if something, if you know, God forbid, someone is being molested, is being hurt, somebody is doing something bad, not just wants to do something bad. That's not lashon hara. That's not like two people just sitting around like kibitzing or whatever. It's definitely a lot different. But it's when you start going into things maybe
Right.
That's a fact. But
Right. So is it, right? It's interesting, right? Is the designation for Lashon Hara when you move out of the realm of fact and into the realm of opinion, then it starts getting much more cloudy, much more opaque, right? As to, do you really need to give your opinion on that? As opposed to, this is, I'm a mandated reporter, as you said, this is what I've heard, this is what I've seen, I'm telling that, I don't give my opinion, I let them go and figure that out for themselves. Okay? Anybody else? So then the real question, again, that Chafetz Chaim devoted his life to is, if this is such a problem, and there are some rabbis that have called Lashon Hara equal to all three of the cardinal sins together, right? All three of idolatry, incest, and murder, right? Those are the three biggies that in our tradition. And Lashon Hara is equal to all of them. So how do we not do it? Right? How do we not do it? Michal?
I'm not saying this is a total solution, but watching one's own self, and being aware of what you are doing yourself.
Awareness, self-awareness, right? Knowing what it is that you're doing and perhaps why it is that you're doing, right? I think is a big part of it. That's good. What else?
I'd say watching what you're doing, but not only as the one who is expressing it, but also as the recipient.
Mm.
Like, do I really need to be in this conversation? Do I really need to know something about, do I need to know that? And if you can kind of gauge where that conversation's going,
Yeah.
you can just excuse yourself, you can say, it's not really for me to know this, like.
Yeah, that's very interesting, right? For a conversation to happen, you need both sides. And so if the person who is the communicator isn't monitoring themselves, then maybe the people who are listening can say, this isn't a conversation I want to be a part of. Okay? It does take practice. So it's interesting. Most of the rabbis who talk about Lashon Hara, their answer is, don't do it. Don't do it, right? But that's really hard. And Rabbi Sachs actually talks about this a little bit in his book, Life-Changing Ideas. And he actually talks about a sociologist named Samuel Heilman, who wrote a book called Synagogue Life, about a modern Orthodox congregation. And he actually argues that in order to be part of the community, you actually have to involve yourself in the gossip, in that part of it, because otherwise you're an outsider, right? That there's something fundamental about us as human beings that brings us together socially. He actually argues that it's the extension of what primates do when they groom one another, right? When they're grooming one another, when they're going there and they're taking all the bugs and stuff off, right? If you ever see monkeys kind of doing that. And what he says is that for a primate, all you can do is help that one monkey or interact with that one monkey. But we as human beings, with our speech, we can actually engage with multiple people all at the same time, right? And it's part of our social fabric to talk. It's part of it. And so that's why, he argues, this idea of don't gossip is so difficult. So difficult. So what is Rabbi Sachs's antidote to this idea of Lashon Hara? He actually doesn't say don't do it. What he says is you have to fight that with Lashon HaTov, right? You actually have to go out of your way to learn how to praise people, because it's so easy for us to say, oh, did you hear about what so-and-so did? as opposed to, hey, did you hear about what so-and-so did? That was amazing, right? The first is a lot easier for us as human beings than the second. And he argues that the very antidote to Lashon Hara is Lashon HaTov. It's not doing it, but it's filling that space with praise. And what he actually says is, which is so interesting, it's not praise about somebody to other people, right? It's actually praise to the person. And that's where I think his brilliance is. It's not, because praise about that person to somebody else, again, risks being Lashon Hara as well if we don't do it right? But it's not enough for me to go and to say, Joel is one of my most amazing congregants, right? He was there, and he made sure that he was at Minyan and all the, right? It's not enough for me to say that to everybody else, but I need to go to Joel, and I need to say, Joel, you're an amazing guy. I really appreciate you. That, he argues, is the antidote to Lashon Hara. And he actually, which is, it's so interesting, he opens his chapter by saying that when he used to counsel couples for marriage, and they would say, so what's the secret to a strong and lasting marriage? He would give them the exercise of every single day finding something to praise your spouse about. It can be the smallest little thing, but every day find something. He says that's the antidote to Lashon Hara, and for him, a powerful lesson in how to make a strong and lasting marriage. It's a new way of looking at this, because as we go through most of our rabbinic commentaries on Metzora and on Lashon Hara, it's only about just don't do it. And it's impossible. It's very, very difficult for us as human beings to avoid it at all times. But it's much easier for us to say, okay, I'm going to fill that space with Lashon HaTov, with words of praise, not about a person, but to a person. That is a powerful way to live, and a powerful way to grow not only a family, but a community. Any comments or questions before we actually read about, leprosy, but...
One quick comment on
Please.
that. I think the big exclamation point at the end of that was that he said, I actually watched the YouTube on it.
Mm-hmm.
He said, it is an avera. If Lashon Hara is a sin, then saying Lashon HaTov is a mitzvah.
Right.
And that was like so powerful, and he framed it in such a Jewish way even to make it holy, like a mitzvah.
Right, he really framed it as the antidote, right? That if Lashon Hara is a sin, is an avera, then Lashon HaTov is the opposite. It's a mitzvah. It's something that it's not just nice to do, it's something that we're supposed to do. We're supposed to go out and find those moments to praise the people that we know and the people that we care about. All right.